Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer on the absolute foundations of cybersecurity. I am so pumped to have you here. Today, we're building a strictly educational defensive mindset. Our whole goal? To empower you to truly understand how vulnerabilities work so you can actually help developers and system admins fix them.
Exactly. Think of this as your foundational builder and defender masterclass. We're going to look at how secure systems are built, but more importantly, how they are protected. We're walking you through safe, legal, and highly methodical cyber defense strategies.
So, here is our course syllabus for today's session. We're covering Section 1, Reality versus Hollywood Hacker Myths. Section 2, Building Your Defensive Foundation. Section 3, The Security Assessment Cycle. Section 4, Building a Safe Virtual Lab. And finally, Section 5, Your White Hat Career Roadmap. Let's get right into it.
Section 1, Reality versus Hollywood Hacker Myths.
Okay, we absolutely have to start here because, let's be real, you've seen those movies, hackers sitting in a dark room, furiously mashing the keyboard while neon green code rains down, and boom, they've breached the mainframe in 30 seconds flat. It's awesome cinema, but is it actually real?
Not even a little bit. We really need to scratch that cliche right now. Real-world cybersecurity, it's not about chaotic, illegal, or unauthorized access. White hat reality, the ethical side of the industry, is incredibly methodical. It's authorized analytical work heavily focused on risk management. We're essentially ethical auditors. Companies literally hire us to protect their assets and fix vulnerabilities. We don't exploit things illegally. Our whole job is to secure them.
Moving on to Section 2, Building Your Defensive Foundation. So, if you're going to defend the castle, you kind of need to know how the walls are built, right? You need to know where the gates are and how the supply lines work. And to understand those walls, we have to start with the absolute bedrock of network communication, the client-server architecture.
Right, because almost all internet traffic relies on this. The client initiates communication. It requests data. Think of your web browser. The server responds and provides that function or service, like the website you're trying to load. You literally have to be able to look at any network transmission and instantly say, okay, that's the client and that's the server.
And the OSI model is basically a conceptual framework showing exactly how those systems communicate.
Yeah, it's like a 7-layer map starting from the physical hardware at the bottom all the way up to the application layer at the top. As a defender, this is your blueprint. If you don't know which layer an attacker is targeting, you have absolutely no idea where to place your defenses. It's that simple.
Exactly. Now, once you know how the data moves, you have to know how to protect it. Enter the CIA Triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Every single decision in IT security is a massive balancing act between these three.
For sure. Like, if you lock down a server completely to maximize confidentiality, you might end up tanking its availability for the authorized users who actually need it to do their jobs. So you're constantly balancing rock-solid security with everyday business operations.
So how do you actually strike that balance? You use a defense in-depth strategy. You don't just slap a single deadbolt on the front door and call it good.
Right, you build layered fortifications. You use demilitarized zones, or DMZs, to separate public servers from private databases. You layer in firewalls, intrusion detection systems, VPNs, and multi-factor authentication. The idea is that if one perimeter defense fails, the others are still standing strong to protect the network.
Which brings us to Section 3, the Security Assessment Cycle.
Okay, now that our defenses are set, how do professionals actually test them?
This is absolutely crucial, and it introduces the white hat rule. Professional assessments are strictly performed with explicit written authorization. Let me say that again. Testing a network without written permission is a crime. It is not a career. Professional pen testing is a legal, contracted agreement to help a company find their weak spots.
Spot on. And once you have that authorization in writing, ethical hackers move through 3 authorized assessment phases. Step 1 is reconnaissance, which is all about information gathering. Step 2 is scanning, where you're actively identifying vulnerabilities. And Step 3 is gaining access, the authorized exploitation of those flaws.
And remember, we do this specifically to help developers find and patch those critical system flaws before the bad guys get to them.
All right, Section 4, building a safe virtual lab. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth do I practice this stuff if I'm a beginner and don't have authorization to test a real corporate network?
Well, the absolute safest, most legal way is to build an isolated virtual lab right on your own computer.
Exactly. And you only need a few free tools to do it. For virtualization, VirtualBox is awesome for creating local isolated VMs. For your Defender or Victim OS, you want stuff that's actually vulnerable by design, like DVWA or Metasploitable 2. Finally, for your Auditor OS, your testing toolkit, you'll generally look at ParrotSec OS or Kali Linux. But there's a really important catch here for beginners when choosing that Auditor OS. Kali Linux automatically grants a root user account right when you install it. Now, operating as root by default goes entirely against security best practices, and it's super risky if you're just starting out.
Totally. That's why ParrotSec OS is often a better choice initially. It creates a low-privileged user account out of the box, which makes it a much safer environment while you're learning the ropes.
Okay, so your lab is up and running. Where do you start? We highly recommend OverTheWire. Start with Bandit Level 0. It forces you to master Linux command lines, which is completely non-negotiable in this field.
Absolutely. After that, jump into CTFs, or Capture the Flags. They're basically educational games running inside vulnerable by design virtual machines. Oh, and try setting up a local SIEM to monitor your own lab traffic. Seeing what an attack actually looks like from the defender's point of view is a real game changer.
And finally, Section 5, your white hat career roadmap. So your lab is built, you're practicing legally. Let's talk about getting a job. You're going to hear a lot about the cybersecurity skills gap, and you'll see entry-level jobs demanding years of experience. Why? Because this whole field is about risk management.
Yep. Companies are terrified of risk. They're afraid a brand new hire might make a tiny mistake that has devastating operational impacts. That is exactly why building a rock-solid portfolio through your home lab and CTFs is absolutely crucial. You have to be able to prove your competence.
And truly proving that competence is all about your mindset. Please don't just copy and paste commands from some tutorial you found online. You need to understand why you are issuing them.
Right, because memorization is not going to save you when a system acts weird. And trust me, it will. Understanding the root cause of how a command interacts with a system's architecture, that is what separates a novice from a true professional.
I really want to call out this quote from our source material because it hits the nail on the head. Troubleshooting is a large part of any cybersecurity job. If you are unwilling to work through errors as they occur, this may not be the right career choice for you.
It's so true. You are going to fail daily. Tools will break, scripts will crash, networks just won't connect. You need to have immense patience and, honestly, a borderline masochistic love for fixing broken processes. That resilience is what makes an incredible defender.
That resilience and curiosity are literally your best tools. So as we wrap up this explainer, we want to leave you with one final question to think about. As an ethical defender, what part of your own network will you map out and secure first?
Apply that curiosity defensively today. Safely audit your own local setup, get your virtualization running, learn that command line, and start building your foundation. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and happy defending.